Hello everyone, am I audible and am I visible? So we'll wait for some time till others join us and then we will start. So, till others are joining, I would just brief you what my aim is, and obviously, I would be summarizing again. So, my aim through this live is to, discuss major of the chapters in crisp, and telling you that what form of questions, what are the important topics according to my experience, and giving you some example of questions that can be there. And this would be helpful for you. And obviously, these things will surely help you to score good, as I have been doing these things with my students. So, yeah, that's the major thing that is there. And let's see uh, how this goes on, and like how long this goes through. So I would be discussing chapter wise, and by chance, if you will not able to attend it live, you can always put the comment below in after the video is over, and I would try to answer them before your board exam. So I would be discussing each and every chapter, not in detail but in crisp. I am assuming that you all are aware of what is the content, and you know the content and everything. So I would be majorly going through by summarizing the chapter, what are the important topics, how you have to prepare. That is the first thing. Second thing, I would be telling you how one markers need to be attempted if they're coming into MCQs. Also, I would be telling you how not to get confused in some of the questions that would be there. And I would also be telling you the difference between learning and writing answer. Most of the students believe that if I have learned, I will able to write the answer, but that is not the case. And I would also be telling you that how sometimes the language of CBSE has been used to make case studies and questions. Okay, so let's start. If you quickly can type in chat box hi, or just given any thumbs up or something to tell me that yes, I'm audible and visible properly, so that I can properly start and other things. Okay. Okay, so ठीक है. So I think I'm audible. I have received response in chat. So great. Okay. So let's start with your chapter number one, that is variation in psychological attributes. And when you talk about chapter number one, variation in psychological attribute, it basically talks about that what are the different psychological attributes, like that is the major aim. And it all majorly talks about intelligence, and it majorly talks about what are the theories of intelligence. And it is one of the most important chapter of your grade 12. Okay, now before I move ahead with telling you in detail the things of chapter number one, I would like to tell you that this from this chapter you will get everything. Okay, everything as in your one marker, two marker, because in total, if we see, this chapter is basically for 13 marks. And the topics which have been included in this are individual differences in human functioning, assessment in psychological attributes, intelligence, approaches to intelligence, cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, special abilities, and creativity. So let me just tell you first of all what are the important topics of this chapter and how to cover this chapter. Let's start with your first uh, uh, portion of this. So make sure that you're learning the important definitions like situationism and individual differences properly. They would come in two markers. If they are not coming in two markers, they might come in one marker. As I told you that I would be telling you the difference between the types of one marker question that you're going to get. Now, in this, usually, whenever MCQs are coming, that would be working on identification rather than retention. So, what is the difference between them? So, basically, there's a question like when you are writing 4 markers, 6 markers, 2 markers, you are recalling. That is exact. But in 1 marker, whenever MCQs are there, you just have to identify the best one. So, please do not get confused with that. Okay, so now I'm just opening the book. Yes, so with variation of psychological attributes, make sure you are doing the definition very properly, individual differences and situationism. You also have to understand the question can come what is individual difference or define individual difference. Now there is a two different um, these are two different questions and answers need to be different. So when it is defined, define means define, right? Exactly. So we always write definition in inverted commas whenever we are reading the text. So defining means define, but in what? You can be little lenient. You can add examples. Okay. Okay. Now, after situationism, you can post your questions in the chat box, but I would be answering them at the end. Okay, so that I do not lost my flow and as in, and when you are getting the questions, just put them in your chat box. After that, you can directly come to the concept of intelligence. When you talk about assessment methods, there is less chance to come from this reason mean that has been already covered in your grade 11 and viva of your files. So they might give you 1 marker, but it's very less chance to get assessment method as a full-fledged question. More important topic in this chapter is intelligence and theories of intelligence. Talking about a major important topic, that is theories of intelligence, where they can ask you a specific theory also, or they can start the question with write the difference between psychometric approach and information processing approach and mention one theory maybe under psychometric approach or information processing approach. I am sure that you are clear with the difference between psychometric and information processing approach. It comes for 2 markers. If the question comes for 6 markers like this, like what is the difference between information processing approach and psychometric approach, and tell one theory under maybe psychometric approach or information processing approach, usually the division is 2 plus 4. And if it come in 4, then also it's 2 plus 2. So this difference is very important. If the question is write one theory under psychometric approach, please write Structure of Intellect Model by J.P. Das. Okay, J.P. Guilford, sorry. So, Structure of Intellect Model by J.P. Guilford has to be written if question is right under psychometric approach for 4 marker or 6 marker. There's a reason for it. The reason is rest of the psychometric approach theories are very small. The content is very less. So elaborating on this can become difficult. You will not able to give length to the answer. So it's better to write the JP Guilford one. Okay, that would give you the length also. After that, theory of multiple intelligence, I always tell this is no man's land. That means it is neither in psychometric nor in information processing. If I talk in the field of psychology, the research is still going on, but according to NCRT, it's not there. On your page number 7, at the end, the above mentioned theories are representing representative of psychometric approach. So the NCRT clearly mentions this. You will not assume and not write anything outside NCRT. Even if certain information is given wrong in NCRT, let's suppose there is, you will still write that information only because you would be assessed from the information from NCRT only, nothing else. No other guide, no other help book, nothing. Only NCRT. Any book that use NCRT for notes, you can go and recommend it. You can work upon it. You can use it for your short notes, but not anything outside NCRT. From theory of multiple intelligence, I will give you a very small example where the question of identification through multiple choice question can come. So, and it has been into one of the board question, and I do not remember the year, but it has been there. So the question can be, this is from your NCRT only, which basically says that surgeons are high on dash intelligence. Now, if you will read your NCRT, you will see surgeons are basically good in spatial and bodily kinesthetic, right? There are two options. So they would give you one option out of these two, and rest would be different. So please do not selectively read NCRT. Read NCRT properly. This is one of the type of question that might come to you, where if a particular occupation has been given in more than one specialization, it can come as an MCQ. And if so, till the time question specifies explain theory of multiple intelligence, you will not write question. Okay, you will not write this theory. After that, we come to information processing approach. Information processing approach, tri-kick theory and pass model. Most important. I have seen pass model is one of the favorite topic of CBSE. Like they give either in 6 marker, 4 marker, 1 marker, आना ही आना है. अभी तक till now I have experienced that. I don't know about this year, but till this year I have seen in certain way, maybe write the difference between simultaneous and successive processing, maybe explain the full form of CAS, why planning is last point. All these questions do come through pass. So it is very, very, very important. It can come in 6 marker also and 4 marker also. Now coming to tragic theory of intelligence. Tragic theory of intelligence can also be asked by explain one theory which has talked extensively about the role of culture in intelligence. That is also one of the aspect of tragic theory. I very well remember one of the question was formed from your figure 1.1 from the box of contextual intelligence, which says dash part of tracking theory, sorry, particularly works on culture. And the answer was contextual theory. So tracking theory and past model are very important from the perspective. Please do remember yes, 1 marker question can also be like which psychologist in intelligence gave importance to culture, right? So that is Sternberg. So this is important. Now, talking about nature and nurture, it is important. But how it is important is that so there has to be, there would be no conclusive statement on this. Okay, there cannot be a conclusive because there is no conclusive statement. But you have to remember the correlation 0.90, 0.72, 0.60, 0.50, 0.25. These are the correlations that you have to remember. MA upon CA into 100, formula of IQ given by William Stern. अल्फ्रेड बिने ने फॉर्मूला नहीं दिया था, ठीक है. फॉर्मूला वाज गिवन बाय विलियम स्टर्न ओनली. Alfred Binet and Simon were the pioneers. They gave the concept of MA and CA, but it was used in formula by William Stern. Please remember that. Okay. After that, if the question in variation of intelligence come, they do. Now they can trick you by doing this also, that they can give you a statement and explain. So, if you know, CBSE has paper like remembering, analytical, critical thinking, all those dimensions they have made in their paper. So, when they give you statement elaborate, it is not just remembering, but it includes your critical thinking also, that they can give you that way also. Now, in this, actually, how the case study can be formulated. Case study can be formulated with the example of, um, so let's suppose John. John is a 15-year-old boy who was not performing well in the academics and was, let's suppose, scoring usually in the lower band of the class. When assessed, the IQ of John came out to be 72. Find out the mental age. So, this form of questions can also be there when you talk about variation in intelligence. Okay, so these are the major topics. Now also there could be difference between the Western concept of intelligence and Indian concept of intelligence. So the concept of buddhi is more than cognitive aspect, while the Western is only cognitive. So if you're writing this answer on integral intelligence or impact of culture and intelligence, or how Western concept of intelligence is different from Indian concept of intelligence, you would be mentioning about JP Das, talking about buddhi, and telling about that how cognitive capacity, social competence, emotional competence, entrepreneurial competence are part of the buddhi, but are not part of uh, Western concept. Also, when you talk about the topic of intelligence, you will write down what the old notion has been. Am I not audible to everyone, or is it only for Siddhi? According to me, my mic is working. Mm. Anyone? Okay, I think I will continue. Maybe it's for Siddhi. Okay. So now, when I'm writing the question on creativity and intelligence, I would start with writing what is creativity, what is intelligence, what has been the old notion that the people who are intelligent would only be creative, then how the research happened. All those things would come under your creativity and intelligence. Okay. Um, any questions still here? This is chapter number one of yours. Okay. Now coming to your chapter number two. So I was also talking about how we would be discussing, how what is the difference between learning and writing an answer. Now in this, I would like to mention that whenever you're writing the answer for your uh, what you call as paper, there is always an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. That means you will always start with writing the definitions. You will not miss out the definitions. You can, if the question is on intelligence, write down what is intelligence. If the question is on personality, write down what is personality, and then ask what the question is answering. Just writing what you know about that would fetch you some marks, but one or two. But if you're a person who's targeting 100 in psychology, this way it won't work. You must have a particular pattern. Start with writing what that term is, explain, answer what has been asked in the question, and conclude. Okay, that is the correct way and the most appropriate way of answering the papers in the paper. So let's go to your chapter number two now, right? That is self and personality. Let's talk about it. Um, when you talk about your chapter number two, I think that is also for 13 marks only. I will just check that. But before that, let me just start with your chapter number two. Um, okay. So when you talk about chapter number two, self and personality, it basically talks about uh, self, and these terms of what is self, what is personality, all these things are important, need to be covered properly. Okay. Hmm. Then definitions are always there, right? There is no hide from that. You have to learn definitions. There is no other way of doing that. Uh, Now let's move to the most important topic or the important topics. Before that, let us talk about the cognitive and behavioral aspect of self. Cognitive and behavioral aspect of self has self-concept, self-esteem, self-regulation, and self-efficacy. Please note, other than self-regulation, all other are cognitive aspect of personality. And self-concept, self-esteem, self-efficacy are cognitive, and self-regulation is behavioral aspect. Okay. Now, your major questions can come from your major approaches to study personality. They won't ask you explain type approach, explain trait approach. That has less probability. Reason mean they are too extensive. They are too extensive to write. But they can always ask you Ising theory separately. Big Five model can be asked in MCQs. How they ask is, so rigid is opposite to which of the dimension according to Big Five model. So rigid is openness to experience. So this is how you would be answering the question. This is how it can come. So that's there. Also, psychodynamic approach can be asked in a short question, okay, but majorly they will focus on your trait approach. Now when you talk about trait approach, your Ising is also under trait approach. Your Cattell personality factor, Alport trait approach is very important. Also remember what is the difference between type approach and trait approach. Type has taken it as a summation of particular personality as one, and there is black and white basically. So either you are extrovert or you're introvert. There's no in between. But when you talk about trait approach, they talk about as it a continuum. That okay, extroversion is a continuum. You can be on one side, you can be on another side. So this difference has to be very, very clear. Always remember that, right? And after that, uh, assessment of personality is also very important. Difference between direct and indirect methods. Indirect methods are projective technique, direct methods are self report measures. So what is the difference, why we use indirect methods? All these are very important. Chapter number 2 in itself is very, very important. On your page number 44, there are 5 points given that brief the difference between direct and indirect methods. Please do them properly. Okay. So, yeah, this is something which is very important in measurement of personality. Mein behavioral analysis, the last part of your chapter that basically talk about behavioral analysis, observation, interviews, behavioral ratings, nomination. Usually, behavioral ratings they might ask you in 3 marker. Okay, that how behavioral rating is there. Now like till last time in your case study questions it was 2 plus 2 4 mark case study we used to come 1 or 3 like this, but this time one question of case study is only for 3 marks. So usually you can expect the case studies to come from chapter number 4, chapter number 1, chapter number 2, because they are the high weightage chapters. And they can come any, like CBSE can come from any of the chapter, but this is what we are assuming that they might come from this because they have higher chance of um, because of the weightage of these chapters. Now, talking about meeting life challenges, that is the third chapter, and obviously it's very easy. In this, please, please, please do not leave the cognitive theory of stress, primary and secondary appraisal. Also, make sure that you are understanding the difference between sources of stress, causes of stress, stress management, and stress. There's two terms, like stress management. Yeah, there's stress management, and then there is coping mechanism. So coping and management are different. Now how coping and management are different is, management means you are not yet into the phase of stress but you are able to manage, so that doesn't impact me much. But when you talk about coping is something when the stress has already happened and I'm trying to cope with it. Okay. So that difference is very important so that you can write the answers very properly. This is a very easy chapter, can get you very good marks. If you are a person who do not like psychology but is forced to give psychology paper and you want कि भाई अच्छे खासा number आ जाए, you can always write chapter number, you can prepare the following chapters with a full dedication and you will able to score well. uh well, not in hundreds and something, but at least a good range, because obviously you are not very interested in psychology, so you cover chapter number 1, chapter number 2, chapter number 4, chapter number 5. These are the four major chapters that are very, very, very important, and approximately your 40% to 50% is being covered, because 13, 13, 26 to chapter number 1, chapter number 2 mein hi ho jata hai. The left chapters are chapter number 3, 6 and 7. 6 and 7 are shorter one, 7 is third is also. But third is very easy language. Is easy peasy chapter and easy to score also. So it is a very bad idea to leave this chapter. Uh Not recommended, Urmila, as I told you, not to write anything outside NCRT. That won't fetch you marks. Okay. Now, talking about chapter number 4, I hope you know that now DSM 5 concepts are there in chapter number 4 and you are not no longer using the old version of NCRT. So, so this chapter may psychoanalytical and everything was deleted. First, earlier those questions would come, but now psychodynamic model is no more there. So, diathesis stress model, all the disorders now in the case studies and in the case based questions. So there are two types of questions related to case based question, case studies. Now, in case studies, a complete case is being given, and then you are being asked to identify and have multiple questions. That is case study question. Case based is very similar, but not much detail of the case is given, and only the portion which is related to question is being given. Now, in your book, with each disorder, there is a particular case given. Like in anxiety, DEB case is being given, right? And in somatoform, they haven't given, but at least in so this DEB case can actually become one of the case study. Second, how they will form case studies from chapter number 4. So let's suppose I want, as a examiner, I want to make the case of panic disorder. So I would be taking the major terms directly from this so that it becomes identifiable to students. We have to understand, while the CBSE people are making papers, they are not going to trick you with very complex terms, because private school and government school are giving the same paper, and they have to be prepared for that. So they won't use anything that is too hi-fi, and they believe, okay, government school might not be able to cover that. So let's suppose I'm making a question on panic disorder. Yes, panic disorder. So let's suppose I say, Sakshi has faced recurrent attacks where there has been intense terror. Okay, she has faced, or she has face symptoms like dizziness, palpitations, choking, chest pain. Also, this have happened at the unpredictable situations and unpredictable manners. Now we will read the text in panic disorders and my case. You will see I have got, like, I have taken major terms that have been given in NCRT exactly, and this is how they think. Okay, so that you can identify. So reading of NCRT is very important. When I prepare my students, what I do with them is, first of all, I make sure that they are reading each chapter with me one by one, word by word. If you're getting bored, that acha, I'm losing my attention, I'm not able to concentrate, start reading. In between, take a round, read while roaming around, take short breaks, come back, read. But you have to read NCRT word by word. Okay, so like this, case studies can be formed, so you should know that how the cases would be there. Now there is a high chance, but they haven't done like this, that they combine chapter number 4 and chapter number 5 in case study, that okay, identify the disorder and give the therapy. That is also a possibility, but as a whole, chapter number 4 is very important, okay, because this is on disorders, and every disorder can come usually in the case studies. Now, talking about what could be the MCQs, they can give you questions like, okay, said that Rita has faced a prolonged time period of sadness, and she has lost all her interest. Her weight has also reduced by 10%, and she's not getting pleasure from the things which she used to enjoy earlier. So, which disorder do you think Rita is suffering from? Depression, anxiety, somatoform, dissociative? So answer is depression. So like this, they would be giving the cases in MCQ and asking you to identify. There's a high chance that MCQ come or true false come rather than fill ups. Okay. Assertive and reasoning questions are also there, but we will be doing it. We would be practicing some of them here, and I will tell you the trick also how to identify this, right? But you should be very clear with the concept if you want to answer assertion and reasoning questions properly. Okay, so that is about chapter number 4. Now, chapter number 5, therapeutic approaches. Students usually leave Indian approach, Kundalini yoga, Surya, that Indian yoga, like Kundalini yoga and Vipassana and mindfulness, Sky, Sudarshan Kriya yoga. All these things usually you leave, which is there all under alternative therapies. Please do not leave that. Please read them carefully. Biomedical is not in the course, so that's fine, and that's very important because that can be MCQ. Okay, because they have specified that. Which question, Urmila, about the anxiety, like, right, explain anxiety disorders this way or something else? So they can give you any disorder in 4 markers. You have to write everything. Make sure whatever is bold in your NCRT. So okay, let's good question. Let's suppose panic attack come in 4, which is very unlikely. The panic disorder doesn't have that content. They can ask anxiety disorders in 4. Panic can come in 3 and 2. But let's suppose it has come. You will start with water anxiety disorder, just writing the names and then explaining panic disorder. Okay. It's very unlikely it would come in 4 because we NCRT do not have that content in 4 mark. Okay. Now, attitude and social cognition and chapter number 6 and chapter number 7 has major of the crux deleted. So expecting that the undeleted content won't come is not a good idea. Like they can do give you anything. It's 6 and 7 marker chapter. So you cannot leave anything in chapter number 6 and chapter number 7. Anyhow, I won't recommend leave anything if you are taking 100. So this is some of the important topics. I'm repeating them again from chapter number 1. Please do not leave theories of intelligence. Understand the difference between psychometric and information processing approach. Um, IQ question, creativity wala question, variation intelligence. Chapter number 2, theories of personalities are very, very, very important, and measurement of personality is very, very, very important. Chapter number 3, gas model, general adaptation syndrome. Syndrome, and then your coping of stress, management of stress. These are very important. Life skills, difference between positive. There's a question of your chapter number 3 May end May. There's a topic of quality of life. That is very important. To be just exact, I will just tell you what exactly I'm telling about. Positive well-being and well-being. There's before life skill. There's a topic. Um, mm, I'm not able to. Positive health and health, because positive health also talks about quality. Okay, two boxes which are usually being left by children: resilience and health from chapter number 3, and please do not leave the okay resilience and health from chapter number 3, and one more box which I want you not to leave if you wish to score well. Big five factor usually do not, but it's an important box. And misuses of intelligence from chapter number 1 is an important box. um ये वाला. Steps in formulation of client's problem, chapter number 5. These all are important topics of your box that has to be there. Okay. So this is about your chapter from the book I've covered. Now let us talk about writing the answer and learning the content. So I've already told you that learning is not equal to writing a good answer. So maybe you know what is panic attack, but if you're not able to express it properly, you're not going to get any marks. So make sure that you're using the technical terms, all the bold terms that are there in your NCRT. Imprint that in your brain. Imprint that. Okay, and while you are writing the answers, underline them. Now it's not necessary you take a pencil and a scale and underline. While writing, just putting a line below that is also very important. So that is also something that is helpful. Now, I was talking about that I would be sharing some of the assertive and assertion and reasoning questions. So let's do this. And so how to basically identify, see when you talk, okay, let's do it with an example. Okay, let's let me just see if I have, oh yes. So you can use the chat box if you can tell me the answer. Okay, assertion is, it is important to understand the concept of individual differences, and the reason it refers to the distinguishedness and variation among the people's characteristics. Now, option A is A and R both are correct. R is correct explanation of A. A and R, B is A and R both are correct. R is not an explanation for A. A is correct, R is false. R is correct, A is false. If the question is assertion is it is important to understand the concept of individual difference, and reason is it refers to the distinguishness and variation among people characteristics. What do you think is the correct answer? If any one of you can think of what could be the correct answer. Okay, I will not wait much because I think uh, I would like to follow. So let us, till the time you are uh, saying it, uh, tailing it. So assertion is it is important to understand the concept of individual difference, and R is it refers to the distinguishedness and variation among the distinct characteristics. Now, how do we identify? We identify by seeing whether, first of all, both the statements are correct or not. If both the statements are correct, usually the जो जिस part में the part which have explanation as a part उनमें से एक आंसर होता है. We see whether they share any relationship or not. Is it like you while you read this here, when I say that it is important to understand individual differences, the reason is nowhere telling me why it is important. If reason tells me why, then it is the correct explanation. As Siddhi said, the B part, that A and R both are correct, but R is not an explanation for A. Because R is not answering why. If R is answering why, then it is the correct explanation. If it is not answering why, then it is not a correct answer explanation. Does it make sense? Does it help you how to identify A and R? Would you like to do one more question where I give you right B? Very good. Now let me just give you one more question. Assertion. Alpha Binet was disputed by many psychologists. Reason, as Binet theory was complex and arose of his interest in defining intelligent people. I'm again asking the question. Assertion is Alpha Binet was disputed by many psychologists. Reason is as alpha theory was complex and arose of his interest of defining intelligent people. A part is A and R both are correct and R is correct explanation. B part is A and R both are correct, R is not an correct explanation. A is correct, R is wrong, R is correct, A is wrong. What do you think is so this is how you think that if R is answering me why, you will say it's a correct answer, correct one, it is not. So this is something there. And yeah, if any one of you good, Siddhi. A is correct. B, sorry, A assertion is correct. R is false. Reason being, Binet theory was not complex. It was very simple. He was disputed by many psychologists, but because he made intelligence a very simple context, which intelligence was not. Okay. So I think you have got a glimpse of A and R. Let me just ask you one of the questions from chapter number 2 also for NAR. Then we will move to the next part. Uh, okay. Let's do this one. Assertion. When we are able to characterize someone's personality, we can predict how that person will probably behave in variety of situation. Reason: personality characteristics of an individual are consistent in behavior, thought, and emotion of individual across situation and across period of time. I'm repeating because it was a bit long. Assertion is when we are able to characterize someone's personality, we can predict how that person will probably behave in variety of situation. R is personality characteristics of an individual are consistent in behavior, thought, and emotion of individual across situation and across many periods of time. Very good. Answer is A. Great. So I hope you are now clear with assertion and reasoning questions. How we see uh, why, right? And that why becomes the reason for it. Great. So I've told you, I've given you a glimpse of what are the different chapters, how the questions might work, what are assertions and reasoning. Now, what is the difference between writing the answer and learning? There's always a pattern. Write an introduction, define, and then write the answer, what has been asked in the question. Now, some pro tips, just extra tips to make your answer sheet work better for the examiner. Please understand, there's no particular sequence you need to follow. Start writing with the question that you know well. Reason mean halo effect works. You have already studied that impression formation. If my initial questions are good, it will give the examiner a good impression. And even if certain issues come in my later questions, there is a very high chance of halo effect to happen. If you do not have separate time to write, use pencil and scale to underline the uh, important terms, do it there itself. After completing, so in your first 10 minutes, use first 10 minutes very, very constructively. uh, Take last sheet ko rough sheet bana lo, write down your pointers for each long question so that you do not have to think and rethink again while you're writing the answer. And be confident. It's okay, relax, do your breathing technique, and then attempt your paper. So I think that's all from my side. If you guys have any question, we can wait for 2 minutes and you can put your questions in the chat box and I will try to answer as much as I can. Or else we can stop and end this live. If you have any question, please feel free to ask in chat box. If you have any question. Fifth chapter, Siddhi, I've already told you that therapies are important. Psychodynamic and biomedical are already deleted. Please do not use the alternative methods of Sky, Sudarshan Kriya Yoga, basically, the Kundalini Yoga, Vipassana, they are important. They come in one marker also. And actually, the weightage and the content are corresponding. So we cannot select what is important from it. So everything has to be path to score maximum. I've already told you, read the chapters very properly, and it is more an identification. So read and reread questions if they are case based, okay? And do not go fast. Take your time. During your 10 minutes, the reading one, make sure that you are using them very constructively. It's okay, Urmila, even my handwriting was not so good. So don't worry about your handwriting. Make sure you're using pen and pencil to underline important terms and just make it readable. That's it. Okay. Uh, Usually, spelling mistakes, if the terms are incorrect, then you lose it. Otherwise, in psychology paper, it might not get impacted a lot. Your psychological terms should be correct. Focus on that. And to improve that, what you can do is try, very, very important thing, guys. I have forgotten to tell you in this in starting, writing practice is a must in psychology. If you are not doing writing practice, you will not learn the difference between learning and writing answers. So please, please, please write as much you can write. Okay. You can take the sample paper from CBSE website also. Solve that. There are many books that provide sample paper, so you can do that. Okay. So I hope this live was helpful for you. It would help you to prepare your boards well. All the best, everyone. Do well, and I'm sure you're going to rock your exams. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Karthik. Bye, everyone.